Gene Stealer Codex. It's going to be so good. I can't wait to not be worrying about finishing off all this stuff for LVO. Can't wait to hear what Danny has to say about it.
Alright, so let's delve into the book. So we've got the Gene Stealer Cults Codex. One of the really cool things about this codex is it comes with some extras. So not only do you get this lovely book, but you also get some blip token markers for your cult ambush, as well as a 9-inch range ruler to help you with all those underground ambushing units as well. And it's double-sided, so it's not like it's only ever printed on one side, but a nice little addition to the book itself.
Super needed, right? Yeah,
for sure, because you're gonna need to know what 9 inches is, like more than Dave's mom. So, getting into the book itself. First of all, like again, GW just nailing it with original artwork in this book. Great background, great fluff as per the usual. Really good pictures, like thematic, like they do a really good job of adding like smoke and stuff like that in there, so it actually looks like it's a civil war happening in all of these pictures, and you can kind of get the look and feel of what are essentially Xenos terrorists going to town on the Imperium.
Some guerrillas?
Yeah, but not the band. So again, like I love this art so much. Like these Gene Stealers just ripping into the Cult Mechanicus, tearing the silly looking head off that robot. They're like digging around at his insides and stuff. Just really great. So it kind of goes over what the fluff starts kind of like with what a cult insurrection looks like. So what do these guys do to like prepare? How does a Gene Stealer cult like infest a world? So kind of all the stuff that they would normally go over in this book that they detailed especially well in their last codex in 7th edition. So some of this stuff is kind of, I don't want to say it's reprinted from that, but it's kind of this in the same vein but updated with some of the new units that they've added for this new codex.
Yeah, they've really come a long way with it ever since they started with Space Hulk with the Gene Stealers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, just fleshing it out. It is
absolutely. And then like they did the Ghost Star brood that they came out with, which was just like the single piece Gene Stealer cultist with the aberrants and everything else. And they've really just, it's incredible to me how much they've added on to this faction in just a short amount of time. Like that they've been like an actual faction. Like they've probably been an actual faction for maybe 3 years.
I beg to differ. Sir.
Well, I mean,
there were mounted Gene Stealers on horses back in the 80s. I should know I had them.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So it kind of goes over that. It goes over like some of the ways in which they take over a planet, like depending on how the planet like is like orientated, like a death world or like an agri world or whatever else.
So it's not just a Gene Stealer crash lands on the planet anymore and slowly starts to infect the local idiots?
I mean, that's kind of it if you take it at its most basic sense, right? But you have to go through the Gene Stealer cult life cycle. So you start off with like the original Patriarch, and we'll go back to this nice little flow chart that they have here. So the Patriarch begets the first generation Gene Stealers, which are actual Gene Stealers, right? Oh no, I'm sorry, those are Acolytes. First and second generation are the Acolytes. Third and fourth generation, let's see here, are kind of the more neophyte looking
hybrids.
Yeah. Fifth generation, the Gene Stealer breeds true. So the fourth generation, when they have kids, it ends up like they give birth to an actual baby Gene Stealer.
That sounds terrifying.
It is.
I hope that happens to John.
Well, we can only hope. And so it kind of goes off some of like the splinters that happen on the way, like when they become Outriders or the Kellamore for the Acolyte Icon Ward, and then like the mutants, like the hybrid Metamorphs or the Aberrants.
Aberrants, so good.
Oh my god. And I can't believe they got better.
I can.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So then it goes over what the end game is, right? And the end game for Gene Stealers is the High Fleet coming down, which is what their ultimate goal is, but it's also a death sentence for them because they think they're going to be saved, but they end up getting devoured.
I honestly think that's my favorite part of Gene Stealer cults because you think you got this thing going and it happens over 40 and 50 generations and you're just so stoked and happy for it and you're just like, here he comes, and you're dead.
Right.
Everything is dead.
The Gene Stealers turn on you and eat you. Mm-hmm. Or the other Tyranid creatures kill you too. They don't kill you immediately. They wait until after they've killed all the other indigenous life forms.
Well, you want to use them,
Right. Totally. So then, one of the new features of this book is they've added cults. So kind of like chapter tactics for Space Marines, each of the cults has additional special rules, which they have previewed on the Warhammer community site. But I thought it was really interesting that they kind of give a different way to thematically theme your army if you want to from these cults, because they like specialize in different things. Like Cults of the Four-Armed Emperor are all about like waiting for the perfect moment to strike and then coming at you with everything they possibly have, which is so like and they like meticulous planning. So all of their things are about, they get a Vect stratagem, like Agents of Vect. They get their command trait is plus D3 command points. Or I'm sorry, their Warlord trait is that.
Oh.
So, which is so good.
It's a pre-Vect, pre-Fac.
And then they get +1 to charges on the turn that they arrive on the battlefield, which is really good because it makes those 8-inch charge. And playing Evil Sun's Orcs quite a bit lately, I know how good that is coming in from Deep Strike. It's crazy good. The Hive cult, they kind of like are really rooted in militaristic like organizations. So they're like well known for like seconding Astra Militarum units to their cause. And we'll go over their rules in a second. I just got really excited about that first one. And then the Bladed Cog. I think thematically these guys are probably my favorite because they kind of infiltrate and like want to make a perfect blend of human, Xenos, and machine. So they use like a lot of bionics and that kind of stuff.
Skitarii? Kind of Stealer cults?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh my god, I see conversions in my future.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Rusted Claw, these guys are like the survivalists of the Gene Stealer cults. So they will be there when the Imperium fades to dust, and they will be the only ones left because they're so hardy and they can live anywhere.
Will they, though? I mean, I feel like they might be just eaten instead.
Yeah, they may get eaten instead. But, hey, it's good to have hopes and dreams, Dave. Now, the Pauper Princes are the ones that show up in Vigilus right now.
Yeah.
So this is the cult that they focus on in there. And they're like zealots. So much in the same way that, like they have like the zealot rule, which is the same as the one from like Sisters of Battle Preachers and that kind of stuff, where they get to re-roll failed hit rolls in the first round of combat, which is really good.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then, thematically, sorry, go ahead.
No, this one is my absolute favorite.
Dude, they are so cool.
It just thematically, I just liked everything about what I saw on the preview site because, well, I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance to read through this book because I told Danny we got it and we went and he took it from me.
I punched him in the face and stole it. I liberated this book, as I would like to say.
And then he begged me to come over with my camera.
Well, somebody's got to record this thing. I'm not going to do it.
So, but I mean, like from the previews they had on the Warhammer community site, these guys were my favorite because of the buff to the actual units.
Yeah.
And just in general, it just seemed, like to fit me. So, I mean, I have a ton of aberrants and other stuff like that I can't wait to paint up like these.
So, to me, this cult is probably the most interesting to me game-wise. I came up with a couple of interesting interactions between like some of the special rules between Vigilus and some other stuff, and the amount of buffs that you can stack on the Twisted Helix is nuts. So, if you've ever wanted things like Strength 7 base aberrants, or
I want that every day.
Strength 6 neophytes, because why not?
Yeah.
Because that's a thing that can totally happen too. Oh, actually, my bad. You can totally get up to Strength 8 aberrants if you want to. So you can get...
Well, that just seems OP.
That's Wounding Knights on 2s with those big hammers. That seems pretty rad. Anyway, so these guys are all about like pushing that mutation to the extreme. So they're about experimenting with like the alien genome in their bodies and like mutating it and making like the most powerful warriors. So they have a lot of aberrants. Oh god, what's the name of the like the little leader that they have that does like
the biomorph
biophagus.
Biophagus.
That's right. Yeah. So, and then they also have some other ones that are really cool, like just some basic like generic Gene Stealer cults. So if you want to paint yours up differently,
so these are the Ultramarines of Gene Stealer cults.
Those were the big like Space Marine chapters, right?
Right. Okay.
And these are the successors. Let's put it that way, right? They're lesser known cults. So, as I'm a huge fan of what is it?
Twisted Cog.
No, those guys were great, right? Oh. But the Tyranid Hive Fleet, what is it? Jormungandr? That's the one, yeah. They have a son's...
Can you say that again?
Jormungandr.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, sorry. If you guys want to critique that, that's cool with me. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure I'm saying it right. Because I don't want to sound like an idiot.
Whatever, Vicatricotrellichicix.
Vica chicken? Vica chicken.
Yep.
That's what we're going to call it. Yeah, Vic and chicken nugget. All right, so Sons of Jormungandr, super cool. Because the Jormungandr Hive Fleet is like my favorite one. Because they're all about burrowing underground, which is... I can't imagine something more terrifying than a bunch of Gaunts like popping up on your flanks. So imagine Gaunts and Gene Stealer cult, because you can do that. That's a thing that happens.
I prefer not to.
Yeah, so check those out when you have a chance. Those are some other cool ones. And then they have a map, of course, as they always do, listing out some of the different cult activities here. So there's a lot of red X's on here where they've been purged, because that's a thing that Death Watch like to do.
Yeah, oddly enough, I use that for my fluff for my LBO list.
Awesome. And so, like, they even have a map of Terra in the corner here, because Gene Stealer cults have made it to Terra. So that's a thing that could...
not according to the Inquisition.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Great little synopsis of some of, like, the classic battles and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. The Ghost Star Quintus Anomaly was the one that they released that initial plastic box set in the most recent times, right? When they didn't have horses. So...
Oh man, is there actually a fluff piece in there with Gene Stealer cults and horses? Because if so, that would be some...
I would be really surprised. I didn't get a chance to go over all of these, to be totally honest, unfortunately.
That's all right.
So, but yeah, hey, when you have a chance and you have the codex in your hand, like you should, because this is an awesome book, you'll have a chance to read all of these too. All right, this one's classic from Kill Team.
Yep.
Nice 2-page spread of that, which is cool. And then it goes over all the unit entries, what they do and some of the background for the particular ones. Mostly new artwork in here. They did recycle this Patriarch picture, but that's okay, because they colorized some of these really nicely and made them look awesome. Or recolorized them and changed like the faction colors and stuff like that.
Like when people take the World War II photos and colorize it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Going over some of the new Gene Stealer cult heroes, of which there are a ton. So I think they added 6 new characters, I want to say.
Let's see. The Magus isn't new. It's just a new model.
Yep. And both of these characters are the same too. The Primus and the Acolyte Icon Ward.
Yeah.
And the Patriarch was the first one, right? All those are the same. But
so you have the one that I think is the silliest name, because he's DJ Gene Stealer cult, with the Clamavustus.
Clamavustus.
Which is just a weird. I honestly.
Clamavus is the name of the unit. Clamavustus is plural.
Fair. So, I feel like they just threw a dart. Like they had created all this stuff, and they were like, "Dude, check out this cool model I made. We got to name him something." And they just threw like 8 darts at a board, and whatever letter it hit, that's what they had. Because I'm just like, where did this name come from? Locusts, I can understand.
Sure.
You know, it kind of fits. They're a devouring insect.
So, okay. So these guys are like Vox Masters, so they intercept the enemy Voxes and distort them, and also like proclaim the greatness of the gods from beyond the stars. So
they're the Gene Stealer called Skrillex, basically.
Yes. Now I'm going to imagine every time I set one down that he's got like some dubstep playing, and when the bass drops, all my guys charge.
You know what? Anybody that watches this gets this far. First off, I'm surprised. Second off,
good for you.
Yeah, well done. Second off, if you don't take one of these and green stuff Skrillex hair over the top on one of them, I will be sadly disappointed.
Well, I don't think any of them have hair.
Yeah. Well,
mine will.
Yeah.
All right,
but super cool looking model, great sounding unit. Locust is also super
Man,
cool
I love
model.
that model, yeah.
Oh, it looks so ominous.
He's got like the swords on his back. He looks like he's just ready,
Yep.
right? And that's what he is. He's a bodyguard.
Yep.
Then they have, oh man, there must be 8 new characters, at least. No, that was 4.
That was 2. 1, 2.
Yeah, no,
3,
this is 4.
4, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so we have the Sanctus, which is their assassin, and he has either a sniper rifle or a venom blade. Now, I don't know if the kit builds the sniper rifle because all I've seen is the blade.
That's all they've shown so far. However, I have seen an image with the sniper rifle.
Cool, good, because his sniper rifle is really good, and his little familiar, we'll talk about that later, it also helps him out quite a bit. Kellermorph, amazing. Like, what a great model.
Oh, so
and a
good.
hero of the people.
Yeah, seriously good. So good.
Yeah. Watch your characters. And then they have the Nexos, which is, like him combined with the Clamavus is probably one of the more viable units that you're going to see a lot of Nexoses on the table, because any unit that you get CP regen without having to use a Warlord trait or a relic, amazing.
Yeah.
And the Biophagus is pretty good. Oh man, I just thought how you can get up to strength 9 if you
Save
roll
it till
good.
we get to the
yeah,
end.
okay, cool.
Blow my mind at the end.
Biophagus, awesome. So that helps your aberrants out quite a bit.
Yep.
And then they have the Acolyte hybrids.
Same thing.
Which is same thing, and also the hybrid metamorphs. And the fluff behind these haven't really changed, and more or less the unit entries haven't changed. But we'll go over. There are some really important changes to both of these units as far as the game rules go. You got your neophyte hybrids; those are your basic troopers. Still 5 points, still a good deal.
Yeah.
Like great little unit. Pure strains are literally unchanged with everything. So one of the things that I know they did this for game balance, right? But while Pure Strain Gene Stealers and Patriarchs have the cult rule, they don't benefit from the cult abilities, like the cult traits. So
Yeah, that's good.
I get it, yeah, because like if you were gonna run Twisted Helix Pure Strains, they would be base strength 5 and get +2 inches to their assault distance or their advanced distances. So that basically gives them +2 inches of movement, and that's like silly powerful, because when they go up to strength 5, then they become a threat for so much more in the enemy army. Like vehicles are like no problem for them because they wound everything on 5s. Aberrants, Abominant, these mostly haven't changed, but we'll go over like the changes that did happen with them, and some great artwork for both of them as well.
Well, this is the first time that I've actually been in the Codex. This is a unit that was introduced with...
well, the Aberrants were in the Codex, right? The 7th edition one, they were in there.
but you're right, because it came out after Deathwatch Overkill.
Right. So, but they weren't particularly great. They've been pretty good now that when they released Tooth and Claw. They released some updated rules for them, which they've updated a little bit further. They're better than they were in that, so enough said there, I think. And Abominants, still just a beast, like really powerful. So one of the really cool new units that they've come out is the Atalan Jackals. So these guys are biker outriders for the Gene Stealer cult. So they kind of like find hidden caches and like do ambushes and stuff like that on people with speed, instead of via all the way cunning. We'll go over the rules. There's also the Jackal Alphas. So that's character 7, I believe.
Maybe. I lost count.
Yeah, there's a lot of new characters.
Honestly, I'm too busy thinking right now that they finally gave me back Gene Stealers on horseback.
Yeah, you could just use a horse instead of a bike if you wanted to convert them,
well,
Dave.
I could, but I mean, technically they've got horsepower in the bikes, so you know.
The power of multiple horses.
Right.
So, OP.
Way improved. Way improved.
Yeah. The Achilles Ridge Runners are another new unit. So when I saw the rules previewed, I was like, this might have like Orc Buggy Syndrome, where it looks really fun, like it's fun to play, and it's like a cool looking model. But I wonder if the rules are going to be good. I think they're at least decent. Like it's a great way to fill out fast attack slots in addition to the Atalan Jackals, and they have some neat little interactions that you can do with them. So, if anything else, it's just a cheap gun platform that's probably only a little bit more expensive than a Sentinel.
It's got a lot of really good guns, right?
It's some decent guns, yeah, for sure. Goliath trucks. So Goliath trucks and Goliath rock grinders. Both good, both improved. Just, if anything else, just in points. So, and then there's the Neophyte Regiments. So the Neophyte Regiments includes the Brood Brothers entries that you can take in the army. So that's your actual Brood Brother squad, which is a troop choice now, which is like an Imperial Guard squad. It's just an infantry squad, right? With very similar rules, except they get +1 leadership, and they get the Cult Ambush rule. In fact, all of the units in here get Cult Ambush. So you get Chimeras, Sentinels, Leman Russes, all of them can Cult Ambush, so they start off with markers. Now they don't have the cult keyword, so they don't benefit from like your cult abilities, but they also don't stop your detachment from being like cult centric.
So you can't increase the strength of your Leman Russ by 1 by having Twisted Helix over there genetically modifying it?
Well, no, because he doesn't have the cult keyword.
Okay.
Right. So, yeah, you can't have a strength 9 Leman Russ running people over.
Because I would.
I know you would, Dave.
Yeah.
That's solid gameplay.
And that's why I'm not at the top table ever.
So one of the cool things, though, that I like that you can do a shell game with these guys, right? So you can basically wait until after the first turn to deploy your entire army. You just have the little markers that you set out with the Cult Ambush rule, which is what we're going to be going over next after we look at the color section.
So wait, you can null deploy with the blips?
Yep, because they count as being on the table.
I would flip this right now if it wasn't for the fact that it would hit the camera.
Right, yeah. It's your camera. I mean, you can flip it if you want.
Yeah.
Just watch my models. But yeah, so you can do some really cool stuff with that.
That's insane.
This army is going to be nuts. Like, full disclosure, and I'm going to give like a recap of what I think. This army is definitely top tier. I don't know that it's going to be meta changing, because I think if you're preparing for a lot of other armies, you're going to be good against these guys. But you just have to really watch how hard they hit. And we'll be going over like that in more detail as we go through here. So they gave you a new Magus model, a new female Magus, which is
Princess
great.
Thickness. I love it. I love that model.
Yeah, she's hippie.
So good.
Super great model. Let's see here, and then they kind of just go over different color schemes for some of the different regiments and things like that. I like the Adelon Jackals in the yellow.
Dude, that is awesome looking.
They're sexy. So, yeah. I don't know what it is about yellow, but I've been really digging it lately. The new heroes. Okay, so hey, here's a great page that shows all the new heroes. Well,
it's a shame we won't have time to count them. And
yep, go.
And fuzz out. All right, no.
So there's 6 or 7 right here. So you got the Nexus, the Clemivus, Jackal Alphas, the Biophagus, the Ketamorph, the Locust, and the Sanctus.
Now, these are all characters, but they're not necessarily headquarters.
Correct. The only headquarter out of here, out of the new ones, is the Jackal Alphas.
Which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to not have to take a non-useful headquarters with your Outrider detachment.
Sure.
So you could take just all bikes and be ready to roll.
I agree with that to a point. All of the Genestealer cult's characters are so good. It's so hard for me to make a decision on what is going to be like the best HQ choice, because they all bring a lot to the table. I don't think you want to bring an Abominant if you're not bringing Aberrants.
No, I agree.
I don't think that's a great choice. I don't know if that's a great choice. It'll be fun and he'll smash some stuff, right? But I don't know if that's the best choice. I do think all the rest of them are super viable, though. Like the Jackal Alphas, if you have any kind of shooting in your army, is amazing. The Magus is a great low-cost Psyker instead of the Patriarch, who went down a substantial amount of points. And then there's the Primus is also great. He boosts your attacks by a lot because he gives +1 to hit within 6 inches in combat, which is great. The Acolyte Icon Ward still gives the 6-up Feel No Pain within 6. And if you take a special banner, he can give +1 strength to all the units within 6 too, which is very primo. And the Patriarch is a monster, and I'll go over my monster Patriarch build here in a moment. So great list here. I'm not sure how many points this one is. I didn't have a chance to go through it. If I were to guess, though, I would say this is about 2,500 points.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe less. Maybe a little bit more. It's right around there. So, the part that everyone's been waiting for, the rules. So the first rule that they have is unquestioning loyalty. So unquestioning loyalty is the same thing that they had, is a very similar rule to what the characters had before. Basically, as long as a Gene Stealer cult's model is within 3 inches of any cult or Brood Brother models, on a 4+, they can slough off wounds or mortal wounds to the friendly squad. So this gives your characters effectively a 4+ damage reduction roll that just gets, passed on to the minions. Makes the survivability of the characters pretty good, even if their normal stats wouldn't indicate that they would be survivable.
Okay.
And there's some ways that you can boost this. There is one Warlord trait for, I'm trying to remember which one it was. We'll get there, but it gives you that on a 2+, which would be a real pain in the butt. So one of the ways I thought about using this, which would be really cool, so one of the things that they can still do is take a detachment of Astra Militarum and make them Brood Brothers.
Right, but it's 1 detachment of Astra Militarum for every 1 detachment of Gene Stealer.
Correct, and you only get half command points for that, which is a change. But they get +1 leadership, which is cool, and they can use unquestioning loyalty. So if you have a unit of 20 conscripts,
ooh.
With I'm just thinking like a patriarch with that rule, like just being able to slough off wounds would be so tough.
Wow.
So some interactions there again, and one of the other cool things you can do is slough off to aberrants. So if you have an abominant, right, and he has a 5+ ignore wounds, so he tries to ignore the wound, fails, unquestioning loyalties it to the aberrants, and they get another chance at 5+ to stop it as well.
Oh. That's...
So yeah, there's a lot of cool little interactions that you can do there to try and get rid of wounds, right? So the other more complicated rule is the Cult Ambush rule. So Cult Ambush rule goes into effect in one of 2 ways. You can do the normal Cult Ambush, or if it's an infantry or biker unit, they can do the Underground Ambush. So the Underground Ambush allows them to deep strike, more or less. So they can come in on the second turn, they come 9 inches away, that's what they do. Okay. Just like normal. Now the Cult Ambush, the other rule, basically for every unit, you put a blip marker out. If you are in a transport, you declare what's going in the transport, and then put out a blip marker. You don't have to assign a blip marker to a particular unit. So you just put out all the blip markers for your units, and then if you go first, at the start of your movement phase, you just pick where all your stuff goes.
Pick where it goes underneath the blips.
Well, so the first model in the squad has to be placed within 3 inches of the blip, and you measure from the center.
Oh, I mean, it doesn't matter what unit is going under which blip. You just go, okay, and start randomly
this blip
setting.
is here, this unit is in this blip, this unit's on this blip, etc., etc. So you go down the line.
So when you reveal them, though, you can actually put any unit under any blip you want to.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a stratagem.
That seems really good.
Oh, and no, so if you go second, at the end of the enemy movement phase, you get to decide where all your stuff goes. So depending on where they've moved their heavy hitters, you can hide your Lehman Russes, you can hide your more vulnerable units away so that you can kind of really play an awesome shell game with them and make sure that your units are totally out of line of sight or really hard to hit. Or at least in cover, right?
Follow the queen, follow the queen, follow the queen.
And then there's a stratagem for 1 CP that lets you put out, instead of 1 blip token, you get 4. So you get 3 extras that may not have units under them. So you can really screw with your opponents. So when you put a squad down, you put the first model within 3 inches of the blip token, and then every other model from the unit has to be within 6 of that first model that's placed. But other than that, and you can't be deployed outside of your deployment zone, so you can't get yourself a leg forward, which was my first thought.
Good lord.
But that's cool. And there's another stratagem too that lets you move up to 3 of your blip tokens for 1 CP 12 inches.
But not out of your deployment zone.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they have to stay in all the blips have to stay in your deployment zone. You can't get crazy with them.
It's just some Hicks aliens craziness happening there.
So, wow, that's a lot of rules, right? Like for that one little thing, that's going to be really complicated, and I can see that being screwed up by a lot of players initially. But
it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't sound that tough. It really doesn't. I mean, at first glance, it sounds tough. Like when the article came out and everybody was reading it, it was.
I was like scratching my head. I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure how this works, but I guess I'll see when the book comes out.
Right. And now having you tell me about it, I mean, it sucks for the person you're playing against.
Right.
But it doesn't sound that difficult.
Okay, that's fair.
It makes more sense now.
Good. Thanks,
Danny. I learned something.
Do. All right, so we have the Cult War Gear list. They don't have a ton of options for their war gear because it's pretty much set depending on the vehicle. So, yeah. There's some vehicle upgrades. The Adelans have the most, and we'll go over them when we get to that unit entry, but they basically can be equipped in like a ton of different ways. So you can really customize that unit in particular. So, the king bad, the patriarch.
So did the patriarch change it all from the index option?
The stats of the model did not.
Okay.
The points did. He dropped about 35 points.
35 points. Didn't he also drop in chapter approved though?
No.
Okay.
The Broodlord dropped in chapter approved, but
okay.
his is different. He's actually 10 more points than a Broodlord right now. So the reason he's 10 more points is because he gets Cult Ambush, and he has the
Cool.
and he has the option to take familiars. So
he can have up to 2, right?
Up to 2 familiars.
Okay.
So those are like ablative wounds, and then once per game, at the end of the psychic phase, you can kind of say, my familiars are empowering me, and he gets to cast an extra power. And so he's cast 1, deny 1, but he gets 2 powers now instead of 1, which is great. So it gives him a little bit more options. In addition, those little familiars are also extra wounds. So if you want to slough off wounds onto the familiars and have them take hits first, especially if you're taking a hit from like a multi-damage weapon, that's pretty cool.
Oh, little tiny Gene Stealer savior protocols.
Exactly. Well, yeah, without a roll though, and he still has the unquestioning loyalty. Now he doesn't have it because he doesn't take hits for other people, but other people can take hits for him because he's the boss, man. He doesn't stoop down to that level.
see a little guardsman going, "Could you take this for me, please, boss?" All right, why not?
Hard pass. All right, so but yeah, he's still great. Still has 6 attacks at strength 6, rerolling failed wound rolls at -3 with D3 flat damage, and he rerolls failed wound rolls. And anytime he rolls a 6 for damage or to wound, he hits at -6 AP and 3 flat damage.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to go over the badass patriarch combo, right?
I'm listening.
So, the patriarch already has a beastly stat line, right? He's already 6 attacks. He's already got strength 6. He's really nasty.
So he's like a Primaris captain.
Dude, he's way better than a Primaris captain.
That's impossible.
He could beat the ever-living crap out of a Primaris captain.
Okay, so he's really good.
He's real good. So, if you make him Twisted Helix, they have a relic that gives you a +1 attack, +1 toughness, +1 wound. So that takes him to 7 attacks. Right?
That seems really good.
Okay.
Okay.
Their Warlord trait gives +1 damage to melee weapons. So he does D3 +1 damage, and any 6s to wound, he gets 4 flat. I mean, at AP -6.
That doesn't sound that bad.
Okay.
I mean,
fair enough.
But then again, I've never played at the top table, so I wouldn't know.
So then you can cast Might from Beyond, which is a power that they've had previously, which gives him +1 strength and attack. So now he's up to strength 7.
Okay.
With 8 attacks. Then, in the Vigilus book, there's a new artifact that it's a vial, and it's not tied to that particular detachment. And so you pop that on him, and it gives him +2 strength, +2 attacks. So you can give him strength 9 with 10 attacks. Hitting on 2s with +1 to hit, because he gives himself +1 to hit. So even if you're -1, he still is hitting on 2s.
All right, so...
And then Strength 9, rerolling failed to wound rolls.
Mental note, kill the Patriarch first if I'm playing against anybody who's watched this video. Got it, okay.
So there's also some cool stuff that you can do with psychic powers with him as well, where you can buff his leadership to a super high level, and then debuff the enemy's leadership with either Tyranid artifacts, powers, or stuff in this book. And you can make it so that if you cast a particular psychic power, basically there's one, I think it's called Psychic Onslaught, where you each dice off and add your leadership. If you win, you do a mortal wound to your opponent, and you roll again. Right?
That seems fair.
So if you can make it a difference of 6, they can never win. So that will auto-kill anything. And there's definitely some ways that you can boost him to leadership 13. And so you cast that power and Knight dies. So that's a really powerful interaction that you can do with the Patriarch. Super solid.
Good thing I just picked up a bunch of knights. Why am I so bad at this game, Danny? Why am I always behind the curve?
All right, so moving on. We have the Magus. Magus is another great model, a cheaper Psyker. And let me go to his points cost really quick here. I wrote it down here on my phone. Anyway, the Magus still has basically the same stat line as he did before. He's got the same number of attacks, same wound characteristic. He still gives the benefit to friendly Genestealer cult units within 6 inches, where he gives them a Deny the Witch attempt. So any Genestealer cult within 6 gets a Deny the Witch, which is great. Really, really powerful.
That's very good.
And he is 80 points. I believe that's the same amount of points. He might have been 75 before, I want to say. So I think he went up a little bit.
Seems like going up just even a little bit is actually not
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's still super viable.
He was one of the most chosen entries out of the book anyway. One other thing about him. So both of them can take the Familiars. Familiars don't die when you use their once per game bonus power. They used to just die. Like, you'd have to kill the Familiar off to use the power. Now the Familiar sticks around, so he's an extra wound, which is great. And there are 12 points for those extra wounds, which
it seems worth it. Actually.
Yeah, it's not bad, especially for the Patriarch. It's really good for him.
Okay.
The Magus is pretty good. Again, he's only got 4 wounds, so you want to try and keep him alive. He's going to get hurt.
He does have Cult Ambush, though, right? He can pop up in their back door.
He does. In fact, everything in this book, everything in the book itself has Cult Ambush. Everything does. Everything, even the Brood Brothers units.
Okay, that's really good. I mean, and the Primus is pretty much he's exactly the same.
So he's different. So because they've changed the Underground Assault to be a little bit different now, they've had. But previously, you got to re-roll the dice for when he came up, because there was a chart of different things that could happen when you came up via the Cult Ambush. Since that's gone now, he has an ability. The first time this model is set up on the battlefield, select one enemy unit on the battlefield. Reroll to wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly cult units that have the Cult Ambush ability while they're within 6 inches of this model when targeting that enemy unit. So that's not just combat. That's shooting as well. So that's definitely a nice little feature. Rerolling once to wound is decent, and he still gives a +1 to hit within 6 inches.
That's pretty good.
And you can make him a little beat stick. There's a new relic.
Like an African rain stick?
Yes, Jave, an African rain stick.
Okay.
That's what it is. Yep. He shakes that. People get really weirded out. They're like, what is that noise? Is it raining? I don't even know.
Oh, it's like we're in LA or something.
Yeah, God. It's the worst ever.
So
he gets the sword of the Void's Eye.
Okay.
Which is a +2 strength. So it's over his normal bone sword. It's +2 strength, -3 AP, D3 damage, and he rerolls all to hit and to wound rolls with it. So with 4 attacks, rerolling to hit and to wound rolls with that weapon is pretty cool.
So he's a pretty solid, close combat.
And he's cheap too. Like, he's not super expensive, which is great.
But he's like a pretty solid baby smash captain, kind of, if you equip him out like that a little bit. I mean, he doesn't cost very much. He can pop up right next to you.
Yeah, he's about 75 points. So, yeah, not bad.
We start calling him Slash Captain.
Yeah, right? Again, like if you take him as Twisted Helix, then he's strength 5.
God, stop saying Twisted Helix.
I won't stop. I won't stop. Can't stop.
So good. It's so good. So Icon Ward, Aberrant.
The Icon Ward, the Abominant.
Or the Abominant, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. The Acolyte Icon Ward is the same points. He does the same thing. He still can take the same Relic Banner, which is awesome. Giving +1 strength within 6 inches is just a really, really powerful ability. The Abominant, he did not change his rules. However, he did go up in points quite a bit. He was 80 points. Now he's 103. Which I understand, because he's really, really good, and he was undercosted at 80 for sure.
He's really good with the Twisted Helix. You can get him to, and the Biologus.
Sure.
You can get him to, what is it, +2 strength to that, so you're smacking stuff with that big old hammer, the super hammer that he could have.
Yeah. Well, his hammer's already ×2 strength, right?
Right.
So if he's Twisted Helix, he'll go to strength 14. If you buff him you can buff him with the banner to strength 16. You can buff him with the spell or the psychic power to strength 20. Strength 18. Then you can do the Biophagus for strength 20.
That seems pretty good for 100
Yeah, that's
points.
not bad.
You got to combo a lot of things to it, but it seems completely just like you're just going to start wrecking Primarchs.
For sure. And, like, hard to say whether, like, he's better off trying to get into combat easier with, like, Four-Armed Emperor, which is another really great choice, because then he gets +1 to charge when he comes out. And you can give him a Warlord trait from the Vigilus book to also give him another +1 to charge, and friendly units from that detachment within 6 also get that. So your Abominants can be a 7-inch charge when they come out, which is really good.
I know people were saying that this was going to be the year of the Sisters of Battle, but I'm fairly certain this is the year of the Genestealer Cult.
This is going to be a real solid book. So you should probably know what's in it if you're going to be playing. Like if you're going to be playing against it the first time, it's going to be surprising the different stacking and buffs that you can do.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm really surprised myself having.
Isn't it cool? Like all the different. Yeah. Oh my god.
I like the combo so far.
It's great.
And I love this model.
What a great model too, right? Like it is so good. So the Jackal Alphys has a great sniper rifle. It has basically the same rules for a normal sniper rifle, except it's -2 AP and D3 damage, which is decent.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
She's -1 to hit from shooting, which is good. Nice little ability, because she only has 5 wounds, toughness 4, and a 5-up save. So no invul save or anything like that. Now, hey, I'm sorry. There is a new rule for the Acolyte Icon Ward.
What, there is? Tell me all about it.
So, I'm sorry, I missed this. So, the Bestial Devotion is re-roll all Bestial Vigor rolls of 1 for friendly Cult Aberrant models when their unit is within 6 inches. So, the Bestial Vigor is the 5+ Feel No Pain that they get. So, and there's a way that you can buff it with +1, so you could be 4+ re-rolling 1s to ignore wounds. That is solid.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, that's great. Anyway, so Jackal Alphys, back to that unit. She has the priority target sighted, which is like a marker light that she automatically hits within 36.
Now, what's a marker light?
Oh, sorry, from Tau. So okay, so
what?
We're talking about Genestealer cults. Enough with that. Enough with those other silly Xenos.
I just
no
was
go
thinking
men
nobody
today.
plays Tau, so I mean, you know.
You just wait, man. They'll be back. So man, Tau will be great against this army, actually.
Don't say stuff like that.
So, well, they gotta have a counter somehow.
Nate's
right?
gonna watch this video and he's gonna think that he can beat Eric, and it's not gonna happen.
Okay, we'll see. All right, so priority target sighted. So what this lets you do is within 36 inches, you pick a unit. All of your cult units within 6 of her, or within 12 of her if they're a biker unit, get +1 to hit that unit. You can only select a unit once per phase, so you can't like team up a bunch of Jackal Alphyses and like fire one thing and get +2 to hit or +3. But a really nice little buff for cult units.
Yeah, it is.
So especially for like the new Outrider, the Ridge Runner, like on their mining lasers and stuff like that, you can get +1 to hit, so you could be hitting on 2s, which is nice.
I like the idea of a vehicle mounted with a mining laser. Like they just drove straight to the mountain originally before it got converted to the Genestealer cult. Like, Yeah, we're gonna John Henry this. We're going straight through, baby.
That's right.
Just plowing. But yeah, no, I love this model, and I like the idea of taking an Outrider detachment. Now, it's probably not the most competitive, but for me, it's being more on the fluffy side of what I like to play. I think the idea of taking her and 2 squads of bikes and the Outland Outrider it just fit, it fits.
Sure.
It sounds like fun.
It would be really cool.
And it sounds like it doesn't suck, which is something that usually when I have my ideas of what to take, it happens, So I would like to thank GW for making it so that players like me can still not be terrible.
So super good model. Like, what a great ability. And note that is not from just shooting. That's also in combat. So it's a way that you can buff a unit to be...
Can you use it in combat or use it in the shooting phase if you're already in combat to target them? Because wouldn't you have to...
you mean the Jackal Alphist?
Yeah, wouldn't you have to use that buff to...
It doesn't say that. It just says at the start of your shooting phase. It doesn't say she can't be engaged.
I'm going to throw up a FAQ GIF right here.
Well, I assume she just shouts and goes, over here, and if the guy's right in front of her, that's pretty obvious.
I'm sure. But can you imagine so you could have Aberrants getting the +1 to hit.
Heck yeah.
Oh my god.
So you could be hitting on 2+ with those hammers if you combo it up with a, what's that guy called? The Primus.
Primus.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Nice.
Good lord.
Yeah, no big deal. Only strength 16 hitting on 2s, right? That seems good. Rerolling 1s to wound.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got your Acolyte hybrids, which are your standard troops choice, right? They are pretty much unchanged from their Codex entry, except they dropped 4 points a model. So they were 11 points, now they are 7 points a model. Now, when I compare this squad to Orc Boys, I think the Acolyte hybrids probably hit better. The Orc Boys are definitely going to be a little bit tougher. The toughness 3 is going to hurt as opposed to toughness 4, but they're strength 4, right? And their basic close combat weapon is Running Claws, so they get -1 to armor saves against that. And they can take some great special weapons in the form of the heavy rock saw is amazing and cheap. It's only 10 points.
Not to mention really cool looking.
Heck yeah. And you can get them to strength 10, no problem.
Yeah.
At least. Higher than that even. And then you've got the rock drill and also the heavy rock cutter, and all of those drop points. Let's see here. They're, I think, 13, 17, and 10 respectively for the rock cutter, the rock drill, and the rock saw. So pretty cheap. So they get 2 attacks based with Running Claws, and then they get an extra attack from their Cultist Knife. So they get 3 attacks each at strength 4. 2 of them are at -1. Or if you roll 6s, 2 and they're -4. So,
that sounds pretty good.
For 7 points, it's great, and they can deep strike.
I'm sorry, did you say 7 points?
7 points.
Oh, that sounds good. How much did Space Marine Scouts go down again?
That'd be 0 points, Dave.
Okay, so they must not be as good as Space Marine Scouts, so I'm not worried. Okay, we're fine.
The other change to these guys is they got the cult icon. That was previously, I believe it was 25 points per unit, and that's dropped now to 10 points, and that lets them reroll 1s to hit in combat.
Perfect.
What else? I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. Oh, the Hand Flamers were Pistol D3, and now they're Pistol D6. So
that makes sense.
They can all have Hand Flamers, which are I think that they're dropped in points as well. Yeah, Hand Flamers are 1 point a model. Okay. So if you want to make them 8 points, you can also give them a Flamer pistol.
Neat.
All right, so next up on the list, we've got Neophyte Hybrids. So Neophyte Hybrids, yeah, they pretty much seem the same as they were before. They're basically guardsmen. They're 5 points a model. So there's a new troop choice called the Brood Brother, right, which is effectively the same thing,
okay.
Which are 4 points instead of 5. But the advantage that these guys get is they have this cult's keyword, and they have option to a couple of other different pieces of war gear. One of which may surprise you to learn is good now, which is
that would surprise me.
The Weber, because the Weber was bad before. It just wasn't good.
It doesn't even sound like a viable weapon, really.
Well, it's just a weapon that's supposed to suppress riots and stuff like that in the background.
Yeah.
Right? But It dropped in points significantly. It's 1 point a model. And it's a flamer that you can wound against either strength or toughness. And it's got a 16-inch range, so 16 inches auto hits D3 shots. And
Wow,
you can wound against their strength or their toughness.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it's really decent for 1 point. I think that's really solid. So I think you'll see that stuff a lot more. So super solid there.
All right.
Next, we have the Brood Brothers Infantry Squad. These guys can have, if you want to, you can replace two of the guys with the weapons team, just like an IG squad.
I mean, that's basically what that is. It's an Imperial Guard squad, right?
Pretty much that's exactly what it is, except they have +1 leadership.
Okay.
Already built into their profile, which is what the Brood Brothers, like, regiment bonus is.
No, let me stop you just here for 1 second.
Sure.
What headquarters would you take if you were trying to create the Infected 32?
Oh, okay, interesting. Let's see here. If I was trying to just make like some cheapo command points, right?
Right.
I would probably... So the cheapest HQ choice that you can take is the Acolyte Icon Ward. And he's 53 points. So it would be like 106 plus 120. So it would be like a little bit more than... It would be 225 points for 5 CP.
Seems like it could be potentially worth it.
Yeah, it might be okay.
I mean, not just trying to make that, but like if this was your basic starter to your battalion, you know,
Sure.
Before you filled everything else out, you know, I feel like these guys are just fit that role very well.
Yeah, no, they're a great wound soak. They get cult ambush, so you can definitely like throw them in the way of stuff, which is awesome. So they're a great buffer for your characters. So like as a bodyguard unit for your characters, it gives them effectively 5 extra, you know, like, I mean, depending on how many wounds they have, it gets them double their number of wounds just from unquestioning loyalty, because they can pass off those wounds on a 4+, which is great. And they'll give you some extra firepower to boot.
Because you could take mortars, right?
Sure. Now, one thing to note, which I found very interesting in this book, mortars went up 2 points a model.
Good.
So mortars are 7 points a model now, or 7 points for a mortar. So I assume that that's going to be something that's going to happen in the new FAQ. We'll see if that takes. I would be totally good with that because mortars are probably they're less points than they should be.
Well, we'll see how good they do at the LVO.
I think they'll do just fine. So hybrid metamorphs are the next unit. Now these guys are an elite's choice, and they're kind of like a dead end branch of the neophyte hybrids, or the acolyte hybrids. My bad.
Okay.
So like when the Tyranid fleet starts getting closer, these guys start mutating, and so they become like the shock troops of like their expendable shock troops that they throw out there. Now these guys are still pretty cheap. They're 2 points a model more than your standard acolyte. They do have an extra attack, which is really nice, and they get a lot of the same. Weapon options and things like that, except they can also take some mutated things, so like metamorph talons or a whip and rending claws, or you can take a metamorph claw or bone sword. So you get some really cool like Tyranid-esque like options. So like the metamorph talon gives them an extra attack, and they rerolls 1 for those. And then the Metamorph Whip lets them attack even if they die. And the Metamorph Claw gives them +2 strength. So potentially they can be strength 6 without any upgrades at -1 AP, which is decent.
Yeah,
it's a nice little
good.
unit. Yeah. So they're a little bit better in combat for a little bit more points, but they're not troops. So I think ultimately these guys probably lose out to the Acolytes just because they're cheaper and they fulfill like a slot that you would be taking. So I could see them in some lists, but probably not in every list. Not like Acolytes. Okay, so Aberrants. Man, I can't say enough about these guys. These guys are nuts. Like, what an amazing unit. So they take -1 damage from all attacks, which they had before.
Right.
And they ignore damage on a 5+.
Yep. Which, as we covered, can be made to re-roll, right?
So with the Acolyte Icon Ward, they can reroll 1s. And then there's a stratagem that leaves you +1 to your rolls for that, which is So good. And if you take them from the Anointed Throng, there's a stratagem from there that lets you attack even if you die, after you die. So if they've already attacked and they kill you, you get to attack again. Amazing.
Live, die, repeat.
Right. Exactly. So you can equip these guys in one of two ways, the normal guys. So you can either give them a power pick and rending claws, or you can give them a heavy power hammer. Now the heavy power hammer is, for all intents and purposes, a thunder hammer. It's -1 to hit, it's ×2 strength, it's -3 AP, 3 flat damage.
But it sucks compared to the stop sign, though, right?
So the stop sign is only for the leader, right? Let's see here. Is it okay? Sorry. You can have up to you can have 1 leader for every 5 guys, and you can have 10 guys. So you can have 2 leaders in there. They can carry the heavy improvised weapon. So it doesn't have to be a stop sign. I mean, it could be,
let's be honest,
a road sign.
It's going to be a stop sign.
Or a crosswalk sign. Or
danger, children, school crossing.
Peligro. Anyway, so what that does is that gives you ×2 strength, -1 AP, 2 flat damage, but you get to make 2 attacks for every attack that you get. So that guy gets to swing 6 times.
And he can be buffed up to strength, they start off at 5, so they can get to 7, right?
Okay, so let's do this here, right?
All right, math hammer me.
So you've got +1 strength for Twisted Helix.
Okay.
You can give them +1 strength from the Biophagus.
Okay.
You can give them +1 strength from the special banner, and you can give them another +1 strength from the psychic power. So potentially you have 4 different ways to buff their strength. So you can make them strength 9. So that'd be strength 18 with the stop sign or the hammers. You don't have to. I mean, that's a lot. Like, there's not a good reason really to make them strength 18.
There's a great reason. Because you get to tell your buddies the next day that you beat a knight to death with a stop sign.
So they can either take the heavy power hammer or they can take the power pick. Now, of the two, I prefer the power pick. I think the power pick is the better choice.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
So the power pick is strength user -2 AP, D3 damage. So it's not quite, it doesn't seem on the surface like it does as much damage, but for every attack that you make with the power pick, you also get to make an attack with your rending claw.
Okay, so you get to double your attacks, basically.
Right. And they're already strength 5, so they're wounding most of the big stuff on 5s anyway. And so if you do the same +4 strength trick on these guys, you can get them to strength 9, so they're wounding knights on 3s. With a ton of attacks.
That seems pretty good.
And you can buff their attacks too. So there's different ways that you can buff their attacks characteristic instead if you wanted to. Which lets you, for each attack, you get to double it more or less with that squad. So they're just, so all of this stuff sounds crazy, right? Like, it's already really good. But they also dropped in points from their Tooth and Claw. So they dropped 2 points a model. One for the pick dropped a point, and the Aberrant itself dropped a point. So there's 16 points a model. The pick is 9. Oof. The heavy power hammer is 16. So that's expensive. So it makes them 32 points a model instead of 25.
How much is the stop sign?
I think it's 10 points for the improvised weapon. Yeah, heavy improvised weapon is 10 points. So.
Oh no, we're getting attacked by a Gene Stealer.
Yeah, you can hear its claws. Next up on the list, we have Pure Strain Gene Stealers. These guys literally haven't changed at all.
Haven't changed at all. They haven't gotten better. They haven't gotten worse either.
Right. Yeah, no, and so with the addition of all the bonuses that the Codex has, like the stratagems and the relics and everything else, I think ultimately these guys are better. It's just that they have the cult rule but don't benefit from any of the cult traits.
Yeah.
Which, that's kind of a bummer. But it's not the end of the world. So Pure Strain Gene Stealers really haven't changed a lot over the course of this book. They're pretty much the same as they were before. But that being said, with all the other benefits and powers and additions that this codex has, they're going to be better ultimately just because of the different buffs that are available to them now.
Yeah.
So between different stratagems and some of the different, like the Cult Ambush is probably less good for them now because that did get nerfed a little bit comparatively to what it was. But you can still pull off some of the great tricks and they're still a freight train when they hit.
They really are.
One thing I was thinking of, rerolling ones to wound is something that they can do now, which is super cool with that Primus. That is a great ability. So Happy with them still.
Oh, definitely going to see those on the table.
Oh, for sure. And you can still take 20 of them in a unit, which is great. So no big deal. That's only 80 attacks.
Yeah, you know.
Pretty standard.
Pamplona's going to have the running of the Gene Stealers soon. Jesus. All right,
so the Clamavus, new character.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of the stuff that we're going to go over next is all going to be new stuff that we haven't seen before.
So if you stopped watching because we were covering regular stuff, not knowing what was in here, joke's on you.
Yeah,
because you won't hear me say this. All right.
So the Clamavus is he's one of the new characters. He's an elite's choice, not an HQ. In fact, almost all, i.e., the six other new characters that they came out with, are all going to be elite's choices. So you have a lot of choices in your elite section. So he doesn't have any weapons except for an auto pistol, which is no big deal. That's not his job.
He doesn't need one.
Right. His job is
to lay down the fat beats.
That's right. The Proclaimer Hailer. So what this does is add 1 to the leadership of cult units within 6 inches. So that's one of the ways you can buff that Patriarch leadership for the leadership bomb. And then he also gives +1 to advance and charge rolls for friendly cult units within 6. So those guys popping up from ambush, +1 to charge.
He can pop up with them, right?
Heck yeah, he's got the cult ambush ability.
Neat.
In addition to that, he has the Scrambler Array. So the Scrambler Array, enemy units that are set up in the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches of him. So instead of 9 inches normally from like cult amp or from like deep strike and stuff like that, he pushes it out to 12. So that's really annoying in itself, right? And then, and there's more. At the start of the shooting phase, roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of him, and on a 6, that enemy suffers 1 mortal wound. So he does a little bit of splash mortal wound damage potentially as well. Although, getting him within 6 is dangerous.
This guy is easily 150 points, right?
So you would think that, right?
Easily.
So the Clamavus comes in at a grand total of 55 points.
Huh. You sure there's not a decimal point missing there?
Or a comma or a 0? Yeah.
He feels really good for 55 points.
He is a gimme in every army. I feel like if you're not taking him, you're not playing the army right.
Yeah, and if you don't paint him to tabletop standard or higher, then don't even, just stay home. Because that guy requires...
He deserves a little bit of love.
He is screaming for a sexy paint job. All right.
Awesome. So the Locust is a bodyguard character, right? So he comes up with your characters and makes them a little bit better. So he... he gets unquestioning loyalty on a 2+, basically. So he can intercept wounds on a 2.
Okay.
Which is great. He's got good melee stats. He's got 4 attacks, weapon skill 2 up.
So he's basically the same thing as Marnius' Calgar's bodyguard.
Yeah.
What were they called, Danny?
The Vikachicken Guard.
Got it.
Yeah, Vikachicken Guard.
Okay, sounds right. Sounds right.
He also has an aura of -1 leadership within 6. He gets a 6-inch heroic intervention, and he gets to pile in and consolidate. And when he does his heroic intervention, towards the nearest enemy character, not the unit, not the closest model. So he can do some cool little like tricks with that as well, which is really neat. So go ahead.
So basically, you take the Clamavus, and the Locust.
Sure.
And your squad, and you get in there, and you're stuck into combat for a turn with enemy character Smash Captain Bob Jones. Okay, right? You're in there and you manage to survive because you're able to slough off some wounds or dodge, do whatever you need to do. Because you have your Gene Stealer cult Brood Brothers chaffing. Can the Patriarch then mind zap somebody in front of him who's getting a -1 leadership buff?
Heck yeah, you can.
Okay.
So that gives a difference of 2, right? You give him +1 leadership from the Clamavus, you give the enemy -1 leadership from the Locust. Profit. So I was slightly wrong. He can't consolidate and pile in towards the nearest character, but he can heroic intervention towards the nearest character, which is really interesting because heroic intervention is like, it's kind of misplayed quite often, where people think that you can't heroically intervene if you're in combat already. But as long as an enemy isn't in base-to-base contact with you, i.e. the closest character model for him, because he gets to heroically intervene towards the closest character, he can always do that. So he can move out of combat into combat with a character that's close to him. So he is very slippery and tricky. He also has a 5+ invulnerable save and strikes first in combat. So if you charge him, he still gets to go. I mean, he doesn't go before you, but he can be chosen as like inner space with the charging units, which is great.
And he's going to clock in probably at 110, right? Oh, God. He's just power level 2, and the Clamus is power... He's 30 points, isn't he?
He's 40 points.
40 points, okay.
Now, his Locust Blades, they increase his damage characteristic to 2 if he makes a charge move or performed a heroic intervention. So he's got 4 strength 4 attacks with damage 2.
So he's a bodyguard soaking up wounds who can also basically move and deal out damage like an assassin.
Yeah. He's like a bodyguard assassin. A combination.
That seems pretty good. So the
40 points.
For 40 points, the next model we're going to talk about can't clearly be just an assassin, right?
Well, no. So what he actually is an assassin.
An assassin.
Right. So this guy is a bodyguard assassin. He's just a assassin. I'm sorry, not just. He is the Sanctus.
All right. Power level 3.
All right. What's your guess?
For the Sanctus? Well, you haven't read me the stats yet. So
all right.
I can't...
All right. I've got the points in my head. We'll go to him.
So I got 40 points for power level 2. I got 55 points for power level 3 here. Plus, I know this guy's amazing and should be 175 points. So this guy, as soon as you start telling me about him, I'm going to get to figure out what I think he should be. It's kind of like a fun little guessing game we're playing.
Isn't it fun?
That I suck at.
We need to start our reviews that way. I think that's better. All right. So he actually has some options. Like the Locust doesn't have any options. The Sanctus does. So he can either be a fighty assassin or a shooty assassin. So if you're going to choose the fighty variant, right? He's got good weapon skill. He's got 4 attacks, which is all pretty good. He has a Sanctus Biodagger, which is strength 1. So if you think about that for a minute, it's not his strength, it's just strength 1.
Okay.
Minus 2 AP, 2 flat damage. Each time the bearer attacks, it can make 1 extra attack, so it goes to 5 attacks.
Okay.
This model, or this weapon, always wounds on a 2+ unless it fights a vehicle or a Titanic unit.
Okay.
So he has 5 attacks at minus 2, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, 2 flat damage. Pretty good.
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
And then he has the Cult Assassin role. He can never have a Warlord trait. The perfect ambush stratagem has a command point cost of 0 if being used to affect this model. So that stratagem, when you set up a model from Underground Ambush, you get to move d6 inches. Okay. So you deep strike and then move d6 inches. So you can be within 3 inches for a charge, which is pretty good.
And he's pretty badass in close combat.
He is, yeah. And then he has a Camel Cloak, which is a +2 to saving throws. Oh, sorry, you can either move d6 inches or shoot during the movement phase. So you can shoot twice, potentially.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool. And then he also has so he gets a Camel Cloak for +1 cover save, right?
Okay.
And then he has, which will give him a 3-up save and cover, which is pretty good. And then he has a Soul Blight Familiar, so you don't get cover when he shoots at you.
All right.
All right. So, in addition, for a trivial extra amount of points.
A trivial amount, okay.
Yeah. Read 5 points.
Okay.
You can upgrade him to the Silencer Sniper Rifle. So it's a heavy it's heavy 1, so 1 shot. -1, D3 damage. And it's a sniper rifle, so you can shoot characters, and on a 6 it does mortal wounds. If it does damage to a Psyker, they take a Perils of the Warp after he shoots them. Yeah. So you do D3 damage, and then another D3 mortal wounds from the Perils.
So for a paltry amount of points, which should clearly be like 100 for that gun, I feel like, I mean, just snipe, because you can target characters who are Psychers.
Right.
And make them kill themselves.
Yep.
How you doing, Magnus?
Yeah, as soon as he gets that wound through, yes, he can do some work. Well, Magnus ignores Perils on a 2+.
All right, sorry.
So
how are you doing, Mortarian?
Sure, or Lord of Change, or whatever else. He'd be great at that. So what's his points, Dave?
Oh, so I'm gonna say he's actually he's gonna clock in at 50 points flat. I feel like that's. He doesn't feel too powerful.
You're getting dialed in here, I think, actually.
Right. I feel like he doesn't feel too powerful, but he still has a lot of viable uses and probably will see a lot of play.
So he's base 55 points.
Okay.
And then 5 points for the sniper rifle if you want to run that instead.
All right.
I think I would run him with. I think I'd run him with the dagger.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah, you have to want to run him with the sniper rifle. You have to think that your opponent, you're going to be running into a lot of psychers, like Eldar psychers.
Sure.
And other stuff like that.
I can see him popping, like not using underground ambush and using normal cult ambush.
Yeah.
Popping up from a marker on top of a building, and just or next to an objective marker, and just hanging out there at a 3+ save.
Yeah.
And then popping guys with the sniper rifle. I think that's pretty decent. And then if you can use that stratagem, so that he gets to shoot twice with the sniper rifle, which is decent.
Yeah. And so if you hit the guy. If you hit a psyker, you're making them take perils, right?
So you have to do you have to do wound to them. So you have to get through their save.
Yeah, but Eldar psychers, I mean,
they're like 4-up saves.
Yeah, it's a heavy one weapon, right? So you get 2 shots with using that when you pop up.
Yep.
Yeah, let's see, math hammer wise, you're looking at probably because there's.
I'd say you're probably going to get 1 through, right? I think that's probably about accurate.
So if you're running 3 of them and just popped up and.
Oh God, yeah. Well, you'd only get 4 shots, right? Because only one of them can shoot twice.
Right. No.
But still, you'll do damage.
Yeah.
That'll probably kill. I mean, so Farseers you probably won't kill, but you could probably kill a Warlock if they have that available for you to shoot. So, I think he's a good model. I don't think he's a must-take, but I think he's definitely like a really fun unit that could have some really cool usage. I don't know if I like him better than the Locust, because his sudden strike where that heroic intervention is such an amazing rule. Like, he can really slip in between units and do some damage.
Yeah. All right, so
next guy, Kellermorph. Whoa, what a badass!
All right. Let's go with the Hexos first.
Oh, the Nexos.
Nexos first because.
Okay. All right, so don't read the Kellermorph.
I could talk about the Kellermorph.
Don't read the Kellermorph, Dave.
I could talk about the Kellermorph for days, Danny. The model is so amazing.
He's great.
Tell me about the Nexos.
So the Nexos, I think, is the other model that you're going to take every single game.
Really?
I think the Nexos is that good. So the Nexos has an auto pistol. So again, not a model that's designed for fighting, right?
Right.
But you could stick it on an objective in the backfield. He still has unquestioning loyalty, so you can slough off wounds to other units around him. He has their strategic coordinator rule. After this model's been set up on the battlefield, you can select one of your ambush markers that's on the battlefield and remove it before setting it up again anywhere within your deployment zone and more than 12 inches from enemy models. So you get a free redeploy on one of your little markers.
Okay.
And that's after he appears. So
you just have to place him first.
Right. So, and then he has, in addition, if your army is Battleforged, roll 1d6 each time either player spends a command point to use a stratagem while any Nexoses from your army are on the battlefield. If it's a command point that you spent, if there is at least one friendly Cult Primus and one Nexus from your army on the battlefield, add 1 to the result. If a command point your opponent spent, if there's at least one Cult Clamavus and one Cult Nexus from your army on the battlefield, add 1 to the result. In either case, if the result is a 6+, you may gain 1 command point. So it's get a command point on a 5+, if you have both of those characters on for every single command point that you spend. So you're going to get a command point every turn from him, I think.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's auto-include.
And he's not, and so it doesn't take up a Warlord trait, it doesn't take up a Relic, which is so powerful. And so, Dave, he's 3 power level. What do you think his points are?
Oh, for that ability? I'm putting him at 55.
He is 50 points.
Damn it.
So for 100, like between him and the Clamavus, that's 105 points for some really great utility.
Yeah, that's very viable.
So I think they're both awesome, and I would take them in every army. The Kellermorph is pretty close to an auto-include for me as well. I think he is one of the coolest models. Like, he is one of the coolest models ever, right? I think we both agree on that.
Hands down. Yeah. No. I have one.
So he's got the Gunslinger rule. So first of all, let's go over his stats. Let's do that first.
All right.
Weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 2. Yeah, that's good. He's a good fighter. 4 wounds, 3 attacks. Yeah, he's not great in close combat. He's only strength 3.
No, he's all about that shooting, that 2-up shooting. That's custode level shooting.
Heck yeah. So he's got 3 Liberator auto pistols and a cultist knife. Each pistol is a 12-inch range pistol with 2 shots each. At strength 4 -1, 2 damage.
Yeah, that seems really good.
So he gets 6 shots, right? Initially. Then he has the gunslinger rule. So this model can target enemy characters, so he gets to snipe characters. And every time this model hits an enemy with a pistol weapon, it can make another additional hit roll against that target using the same weapon.
So potentially have, what was that, 6, 12? Potentially have 12 shots.
Yes. 12 hits, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, he gets, I would say probably you're going to get 10.
Yeah, that sounds about
Like,
right.
by math. That's the way it should, that's the way it should work out. 10 hits at strength 4 with -1 on most characters at 2 flat damage
Yeah.
is really good. So if you're shooting at a toughness 5 character, you're looking at 3 wounds. If you're shooting at a toughness 4 character, you're looking at 5 wounds. And then, like, if you're a 3-up, you're only saving half of those. That'll do 4 or 6 wounds to a character and kill him for T4. If you're T3, you're going to be dead.
I'm just a huge fan of taking like 2 or 3 of these guys and just having a good time with it. You know.
Heck yeah! Even shooting a unit, they're good at that too. That's a lot of hits.
Yeah, it is. Well, and like if you're shooting against chaff to get your Gene Stealer cult in there, they're perfect chaff clearing.
Sure.
Amazing.
Very good at that. And then they have heroic deeds, heroic inspiration. If this model kills any enemy models with its ranged weapon, then until the end of the phase, we roll to hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly cult infantry units while they are within 6 inches of this model. So you pop up 1, shoot him as a squad, right? Kill a couple guys,
Right.
with 1 next to him, so that he gets the rerolls.
Oh God.
So then you shoot him at the character, so you're getting 12 hits, like almost assuredly. It's a 97% chance to hit.
So 3 of them pop up together.
Just bop, 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 bop. Yeah, so good.
Good God.
And you could use perfect ambush on them, so one of them gets to shoot twice.
I know I'm not on camera, so they can't see me, but I think that was that's pretty much mind blowing right there. That's holy crap. Math wise, so first guy hits 10 hits, so that everybody else around him gets the +1s. So they're pretty much going to get auto hits on all that. So that's what 36 more shots.
Yeah,
Good
36
Lord.
more hits.
36 more hits. You're going to fail 1 eventually.
Maybe.
You're going to fail 1 eventually.
Let's see, at 36, yeah, you might fail 1, so probably 35.
Holy crap.
So super great. Like what a great unit. So points on him, Dave.
Oh, I don't even. It's
Keller Reef?
100 points per model. Actually, I'm going with 300 points per model at that. No, I'm probably 60 points, right?
You're right on the money, Dave. 60 points is the actual point cost of him. And the Liberators are free, so he's literally 60 points.
I really feel like 180 points for the ability to just nuke a character squad is 100% worth it.
Oh my god. Like, against, like, Eldar Psychers and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, like, the amount of damage that you can do with this
A
guy,
Seer
amazing.
Council, just
Yeah.
oof. Oh baby.
Yeah, hide if you want to, but I'm coming for you.
All right. So then we have the Biophagus.
Which is, he's a really cool unit, right? He gives you, his Injector Goad is a pretty solid weapon. It does D3 damage apiece. It makes him strength 4, and it always wounds on a 2+ unless it's against vehicle or Titanic. If you do damage to a character, you roll a D6, and if you roll higher than the model's wound characteristic, it takes an extra D3 damage, mortal wounds.
But his close combat isn't why you have him.
No.
Although the idea of hitting somebody with that and injecting them with all the vials that are inside there and then just watching them just explode like you got punched by Fist of the North Star, it seems kind of fun to me.
Super cool.
But he's there for a completely different reason.
Yeah, he has the genomic enhancement ability, and this is something that they previewed on Warhammer Community.
Yeah.
But basically, you roll a D3 for an aberrant unit, and you get. Do you have to roll a 2+ first? No. Yep.
No.
Oh no! You roll a
you roll a
D6 on a
D6.
1.
Yeah.
A model is slain. Then you roll a D3.
Yeah, you get to do it either way. You don't. There is no failing in the roll.
Right.
It's whether or not.
Yeah, just one of
your
them might
average
succumb.
dies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
That's super cool.
And you could CP that if you wanted to, if you were worried about it. If you really needed a guy to live.
I would CP it right into another one. Actually, that is how that would happen.
That's Dave's. That's what we call Dave's luck.
Yeah.
So you give them either +1 strength, +1 toughness, +1 attacks, and then the familiar once per game he lets you do it on 2d3 if you pay the points for him.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yep. And again, he's pretty inexpensive, ultimately. He is 35 points.
Really?
Yeah, so he's really cheap.
Oh, he's an auto-include if you love Aberrants.
Sure.
But not necessarily for everyone.
I would rate him like a 7 out of 10, I think. Nah, maybe a 6.
I mean, it's pretty... Because you have to do it to Aberrant.
And the familiar is 12 points, if you want to take him.
Okay. So what you have to take... I mean, he's really only useful with the Aberrant group.
For sure.
Right?
So either an Aberrant or an Abominant.
Yeah.
If you're feeling ballsy, you don't want to lose... Because he'll die on a 1.
Here's my Warlord. He's dead.
Whoops!
And that's what we call Dave Luck.
So, yep, decent little character.
Cool model. I like it a lot.
Oh, for sure. The model is awesome. That goad that he has with all the inject... Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a man catcher, but with, like, needles. All right, so moving on to Fast Attack. We've got the Achilles Ridge Runners. These are the new vehicle. They're not super tough, so toughness 5, 8 wounds. So kind of like the new Orc Buggies, right, as far as toughness goes?
Yeah, but fast.
Yeah, movement 14 is really fast. And they have the scout vehicle rule, kind of like Sentinels. So before the first turn of the game, you can move them 9 inches forward. So, I don't think that you can do that if you cult ambush them, though.
You mean put them under a blip?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be able to do it if you put them off the board, but...
You can't put them off the board because they're a vehicle.
Okay.
So yeah, you might start them on the table. People see them coming. I don't know, though. You may not want to move up that far. If you, I mean, there's not a great reason to do that, I guess.
They have basic stats for speed or whatnot, like we have, but it's pretty standard. What makes them special is their weapons options, right?
Right. So their weapon options are pretty good. Well, they have a weapon option, and they also have like an auxiliary slot that gives them a bonus. So they have 3 different options for weapons. They have a heavy mining laser, a heavy mortar, and a missile launcher. So the heavy mining laser is a D3 shot las cannon. Enough said, right? That's
right.
Decent. Then they have the heavy mortar, which is a mortar that's strength 5 minus 1 AP.
Okay.
Which is good too. And they have a missile launcher, which is a standard missile launcher, no special rules.
But...
So they also have 2 heavy stubbers, which is great, especially now that heavy stubbers are so cheap because they went down to 2 points. You have 3 different extra options that you can give it. So you can give it the flare launcher, which gives it a feel no pain 6 up, and
That's very interesting, actually. Giving a vehicle a feel no pain.
Yeah. Actually, so most like the Goliath trucks and all that stuff has a 6 up feel no pain because they're rugged. I assume the flares are like because they like they shoot them off and it like distracts people shooting and that kind of stuff.
Maybe. I mean, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And then, in addition, once per battle at the start of your movement phase, you can select 1 unit of friendly cult bikers within 6, and that unit moves an additional 6 inches if it advances. This turn, you don't have to roll the dice. So it's an auto 6-inch advance, which is decent.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Or you can give it a server auger, which makes it ignore cover. Also good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean...
If you're going to give it the mortar, I think that's solid.
Yeah, it is.
So then you can just sit in your back field if you want to and lob the mortar shots. It doesn't have to be fast. It can just sit there and shoot too. Or you can give it a spotter, and it increases the range of its ranged weapons by 6 inches. So the heavy mine laser going to 42 is pretty good. And the heavy mortar going to 56 or 54 is decent. Like that's an extra 6 inches is solid.
Yeah.
It's not too expensive, actually. So
how does it rank compared to like Orc Buggies?
So I feel like it's pretty equivalent to an Orc Buggy. The Orc Buggies are a little bit tougher because they're toughness 6, and they have better close combat abilities usually. But they're orcs, so it should,
that
right?
Makes sense.
I mean, there's orcs crewing it. But the nice thing about these things is that they're about 30 points cheaper.
Oh, that is pretty good.
So it starts at 50 points base. The heavy mining laser is, I think, 25 points.
Okay. I mean, that's a 2-shot las cannon, you said, right?
D3 shot.
D3 shot?
Yeah.
So 2-shot las cannon.
Sure, yeah, on average, it's 2-shot las cannon. The heavy mortar is 8 points, which it makes it really cheap,
that's
right?
That's really good, actually.
And then the missile launcher is 15. And then the other options, the flare launcher and the spotter are both 5 points. The survey auger is 10.
Okay.
So if you wanted to run it with a heavy mortar and survey auger, that would make it 68 points.
Okay.
Which makes it 40 points cheaper than the cheapest orc buggy. Which is, yeah, I mean, that's good.
All right, so competitively, tabletop, not tabletop?
There might be a use for it. I think that you can combo it up with the jackals if you really wanted to, so you can get a first turn assault.
Okay.
Which I think could be decent, like just to tie stuff up with jackals, because they're kind of hard to kill.
Okay.
But otherwise, I don't rate it super high. Like if you give it the flare launchers, right? You can make the Adelan jackals, and we'll get to them in a minute. You can make them movement 20, and there's a psychic power that you can cast on to let them assault after they advance.
All right, so basically, it's kind of a utility to keep up with the jackals.
Right.
Vehicle.
Sure.
Okay.
And it's I mean, 14 inches is fast.
Yeah. No,
so you can use it to cap some objectives late game and that kind of stuff if you're losing stuff, and it's decently tough at 8 wounds and a 4-up save.
It's that's custom jet bike repulsor speed fast. That's actually really fast for a wheeled vehicle.
I think so. Yeah.
It's got some Jace and the Wheeled Warriors vibes.
All right, and then we've got the Adelan Jackals, which are probably the coolest new models in the new release to me. Like, those dirt bikes are amazing.
Yeah, they really are.
And the models are characterful and everything else. This unit has more options for equipment than any other unit that I can think of, to be honest. Like, there's more combinations. So you can take any 2 choices from their weapons list that you want to. So you can be shotgun, autogun. You can be shotgun demo charge. You can be shotgun cultist knife. And then any combination thereof, there's probably like 6 or 8 different options that you can take for them.
Whew. That's impressive, actually.
Yeah. And then the leader can have a power axe. And then so they come in groups of 4. And then for every 4, you can have one wolf quad, which is the 4-wheeler.
Right, the box set actually comes with a wolf quad and 4 guys.
Yep. So it's a five-man box more or less, right?
No, it's way more than a 5-man box.
Well, like a 5-man unit you get every time, right?
Yeah.
So they're just like normal bikers. They have 2 wounds. They have toughness 4 instead of toughness 3, which is nice, and they have a 5-up save. They're 4s and 4s to hit because they are neophytes. So I mean, they're not supposed to be like super good fighters or anything, right?
Right.
You can give the wolf quad a power pick if you want to. I thought that was a neat little option that you could give a little power weapon in there if you so desire. And the wolf quad can take a heavy stubber, a mining laser, or an Adelan incinerator, which is a heavy flamer with 12-inch range, which is nice. That's great. So moving 14 and then shooting 12 is pretty rad for a flamer.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool combo with these guys in one of the a couple of the stratagems, right? So the Rusted Claw has a stratagem that gives you +1 to hit and +1 to wound with demo charges.
Right.
And then they have like a more grenade strat like the Orcs and the Death Guard and the Imperial Guard.
Okay.
Where up to 10 models can throw grenades. 5 of them can be demo charges. So you can throw 5 demo charges with +1 to hit, +1 to wound. And a demo charge is basically a battle cannon shot, so it's strength 8, -3, D3 damage.
Sorry, you said you could do 5 of those?
Yeah, so you can do 5d6 shots, hitting on 3s, wounding on whatever. Strength 8, so with +1 to wound. So mostly I would say on vehicles, either wounding on 3s or 2s. And in addition, you can take the Jackal Alphas and like target that unit and give them +1 to hit, so they're hitting on 2s. So I think that combo is kind of neat. Like you can do some cool stuff with throwing grenades.
Just run by chucking of demo charges.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Oh my god. God, that sounds so good.
So I think these guys are going to be a great unit. Otherwise, like if you're not going to do the demo charge trick, even giving them shotguns and autoguns, I think is good because then that gives them 4 shots a model at 12 inches.
Oh right, because you can fire both sets of weapons.
Heck yeah. 1 in each hand, baby.
I challenge you to get on a motorcycle and shoot a shotgun and a pistol at the same time.
I'll show you.
I have a motorcycle.
Okay.
We will make this happen this summer. Stay tuned for Danny Knievel's shotgun pistol tour, shortly followed by Danny's trip to the hospital.
With a broken neck.
No, you'll have a helmet on.
Oh.
You'll be fine.
Cool.
I really like this unit.
I'm looking forward to that concussion, Dave.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really like this unit, and I really want it to. I want to say that it's definitely going to see play.
I think for sure
At a competent level.
Sure.
Maybe not with the wolf quad in it.
Heck yeah, I would put the wolf quad in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So these guys are bikers, so they can do the underground ambush.
Doesn't the wolf quad get the vehicles?
Nope. He's a biker keyword.
Oh!
They all have the biker keyword.
That's impressive. All right, never mind. I stand corrected. They will definitely see tabletop play.
I think so for sure.
Going to be a top table next year.
Well,
Throwing demo
I don't know about that. I mean, I think they're good.
It's a year away from now, Danny. How do you know? It's going to happen.
Sure, anything could happen a year from now,
Could
Dave.
take this list that we have concocted today.
Yeah, sure.
How much do we have to pay for that?
It's expensive. Sponsorship is a hell of a thing.
It would be worth it.
Yeah.
All right, these guys are really good. Buy 15 boxes of them.
Plus, the models are awesome, so that doesn't hurt. That's probably influencing my decision a little bit, but like I think they look so cool that you could definitely make them work. There's some combos there.
I really feel like you could take these models, just take the riders off of these and set them to the side. And then you could take riders off of crocodiles and put them on top. And then you have Rough Rider models.
You could have some super cool Rough Rider models.
Yeah, really cool Rough Rider models.
Or you could give these, or literally just give these guys power lances and call them Brood Brothers Outriders. Or Brood Brothers Rough Riders, I'm sorry. Like, that'd be easy to do, and that would be cool.
Yeah. Thematic.
Yes. Hell yes.
And so we're on to the regular Sentinels.
So these guys are more Brood Brothers stuff. They do have Cult Ambush, which is cool. But otherwise, they're unchanged for their Imperial Guard versions.
Yeah, they're just
they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Sentinels are okay. Especially Scout Sentinels are better, I think, than the armored ones. But it depends how you want to do. It depends on how you want to do the loadout. Then you have Cult Leman Russ, which took a points drop to match the Imperial Guard Leman Russ, which is great.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, sure. And it also has Cult Ambush as well. So you can ambush your Leman Russes, which is awesome. So you can bring them up wherever you need them to do the most damage. Yeah. Now the Goliath Rock Grinder is... Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you also have Brood Brothers Heavy Weapon Squads.
Yeah, it's an Imperial Guard Heavy Weapon
You can take mortar squads now.
Right.
Great. That's awesome. That'd be a great thing to stick next to your Nexos.
As a guy that is not happy with the way that mortars are playing right now against orcs, you said that with absolute just happiness.
Nah, you got to play around them, man.
Yeah.
You got to know how to deal with them.
The Goliath Rock Grinders is same as it was before, a little different?
I think it dropped a lot of points.
Okay.
So I think when I was doing the math, if you give it the cache of demo charges and a clearance incinerator, which is what I would take because I like flamers, and the clearance incinerator is the same weapon the Hellhound has, more or less.
Oh, okay.
It's 120 points, which I thought was a good deal, relatively speaking. It still has Cult Ambush, it has Rugged Construction, so it gets a 6-up Feel No Pain all the time. It does only have 10 wounds and a 4-up save, so it's less durable than a Hellhound is.
Okay.
By a little bit. But
you can't actually take Hellhounds with Brood Brothers, right?
you can.
Okay.
You could take a Brood Brother Hellhound if you wanted to.
All right.
But this has transport capacity, so you can have 6 guys inside. And it also has the Drill Dozer Blade. So, as someone who really loves crashing vehicles into my enemy and watching them scream as they get ground up into little pieces, like I love myself some, oh god, the bone breaker from Orcs. Yeah. Anyway, so at full strength, it gets 6 plus D3 attacks on the charge.
Okay.
Or at full tier, right? 6 plus D3 attacks on the charge. They always hit on 4s. That doesn't degrade. At strength 9, minus 2 AP, D3 damage apiece.
That seems pretty good.
It's pretty solid for you don't want to. It's a flamer that you also don't want to charge very often unless you think you can kill it in one go, because even getting like some attacks is going to hurt. I think they're at least decent. Like I think that's a solid unit. and I would like to play around with them a little bit more.
Alrighty.
So,
what's next?
Next, we have our two dedicated transport options. So we have the Goliath truck. Goliath truck dropped a bunch of points. I believe I remember it being 70 points now. Yeah, it's 50. It's 50 points base, and then it has 2 autocannons. Yeah, 2 autocannons and a heavy stubber, so that makes it 72 points full kit. Unless you take demo charges, then a cache of demo charges, then it's 82 points.
Okay.
But it's got, it's a twin autocannon. It's less points than that then.
All right. So
yeah, twin. Oh no, it's same points. Same points. Okay, so still has the same rugged construction. It gets open topped as opposed to the rock grinder. So all 10 guys inside can shoot out of it as well, which is cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
So you could take a couple of guys with demo charges, or one guy with demo charges to throw out, and then also the cache of demo charges to throw out as well.
I'm hearing a lot of what I heard when you and John were talking about the Orc Codex for stuff like that. I'm feeling like this is Orc Cult 2.0. and I'm really liking it. I mean...
So there's a really great detachment in the Vigilus book for these guys and Acolytes, where you can after you move this thing, you can disembark. So you can cult ambush these, then advance and move them, right?
Right.
If they're, as an example, if they're Twisted Helix, they get +2 to advance rolls or advance moves. So it's 12 plus D6 plus 2. So it's an average of like 17 inches, and then your dudes get out 3 and move. So that's pretty much a first turn assault, I think, like most of the time.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be.
So on average, you're going to get like 9 inches of movement out of the vehicle. So 17 and a half inches plus 9 inches. I mean, you're in the enemy deployment zone, literally.
That's a first turn. What is that? What's the secondary for that? That's
that's first strike or first blood.
No. Being doesn't have to that. There's one that is.
Oh, behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
Well, you have to start your turn in their deployment zone, but still.
Yeah, but
fair enough.
As opposed to being, having to deep strike somebody down there, you can still deep strike stuff on the other side. Just another option to score stuff.
Yeah, but that gives you first turn, right?
For those that aren't familiar with the ITC that I just launched into there, sorry. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Cult Chimera's just a basic Chimera.
Yeah, and it's gotten the same points decreases as the Astro Militarum one did when the new chapter proof came out this year.
All right.
So which is great.
So
it's still arguably a better choice in a lot of situations to take the Chimera because it's tougher, because it has a 3-up save instead of a 4-up, and it has toughness 7 instead of toughness 6. Yeah. So just depending on what you want to do.
But then we come to...
They're roughly the same points.
Then we come to this sexy beast.
So the first fortification I've seen in a while that actually might see competitive play, we'll see. It has some amazing abilities. So first of all, it's 75 points, which is relatively inexpensive.
Yes.
You can't kill it. So it's invincible.
Okay, right. Like the Mech Workshop, which you can't blow up either.
Correct.
Because it has no stat line.
Which I think is good for the terrain in general. Like, if you're going to buy a piece of terrain, your enemy shouldn't be able to blow it up most of the time. Like, I really wish Wraith Gates were like that, because those would be way more viable if that was the case. The
Imperial Fists beg to differ, Danny.
All right, so it has the Sector Mechanicus structure rules. So basically, like when you're on it, you get a cover save if you're infantry models. You have to go up the girders to the ladder to get up to next levels, that kind of stuff.
Okay. That's standard stuff.
Yep,
yeah.
Pretty much. And so it has the underground ingress rule. So once per turn, in the movement phase, one infantry or biker unit that has called ambush can move off the battlefield and then re-deep strike the next turn, as long as the whole unit is within 1 inch of the bottom level of this.
That seems pretty good.
Yep. So they go down the tunnel. The drill is made, and then pop up somewhere else.
Yeah. No, that feels pretty good to be able to. Now my question is, and I don't think it's been answered anywhere yet. Is after turn 3, stuff that isn't on the board, so you can still do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's no penalty there in match play for something that started on the board goes off the board, comes back on, no problem. So you can like capture an objective or get in your opponent's deployment zone for line breaker or something like that quite easily with that.
Yeah, that seems pretty
which
solid.
is really neat. And then you have the activate the drill rule. So if a model from your army is on it, you can activate the drill. Roll a d6 for every unit on the ground level that's within 3 inches of just the tip of the drill. And then add 1 each other time the drill has been activated during the battle. If the result is less than 6, the seismic tremors rule takes effect. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I miswrote. So roll a dice for each unit within 3 inches of the bottom of the drill when it activates. On a 6, they take d6 mortal wounds.
Right.
Because they get hit by the drill.
Yeah. But there's 2 different types of drill type, right?
Well, yeah, it depends on how deep you've delved, right? whether you've dug too greedily into the earth. If you haven't delved that far, so then you roll another dice. If the result is less than a 6, you take the seismic tremors. If it's a 6 or more, then you do the seismic quake, and you're going to add 1 for every time you activate the drill. So seismic tremors. Until the start of your next movement phase, subtract 2 from charge rolls made by units while they are within 12 inches of this model. This does not affect units that fly, and the effects of multiple seismic tremors are not cumulative. Okay. Which, fair enough.
So if you had 2 of them, yeah.
Right, sure. Then you have the seismic quake. So if you really destabilize the Earth, this is like the doomsday. Draw an imaginary straight line 1 millimeter in thickness from any point on the battlefield edge to any other point on the battlefield edge in such a way that it crosses the tectonic drill. Tectonic frag drill.
This, by the way, is one of the coolest sounding things to me.
It's super rad. The Earth is literally cracking apart, right? And then roll a d6 for every unit that's on this line crosses that's on the ground level. On a 4-up, they take d3 mortal wounds, and their move characteristic is halved. So it doesn't affect units that fly, but it can destabilize stuff really hard, and it's a smite. But on a 4+ you could do it against characters, like whatever. There's no targeting rolls.
You just draw a straight line, and it's every model underneath the line on both sides of the line, though, right?
It's every unit.
Every unit. Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yep.
So you just draw. Yeah, I mean, good lord, that just seems very good.
It's really powerful.
And what are the odds of rolling that? You roll a d6, so turn 2 you get a 6, 5, 4. By turn 3, by turn 4, you're almost assuredly casting it.
Yes. Which is awesome.
Yeah, and
so I'm imagining like a cult Nexus on this thing.
Yeah.
Just hanging out, CP, like farming CPs, pressing the button on the drill.
Yep.
Drill, baby, drill.
just go to town on it.
That's right. So a decent choice. I'm the only thing that I question is giving up an entire detachment for this thing, and that's probably the only limiting factor on its effectiveness. I think otherwise it's a gimme for 75 points because it gives you a nice little fire base that you can get cover in on the first turn, and you can re-deep strike your stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
All right. So then they go over the war gear of the cult. I didn't notice any big changes in as far as like how good stuff is now. It seems like it's pretty much the same as it was before.
Okay.
The rules are fairly similar. So same more of that. Melee. I love some great battle scenes with the Vika Chicken Guard. And then you have the actual rules, right? So you've got the insurrection. So insurrectionists basically gives you objective secured.
Okay.
Right?
Now, does every model in the Gene Stealer cult have that ability? Or how do they gain that ability?
All troop units in Gene Stealer cult and Brood Brothers detachments in your army gain the insurrectionist ability.
Okay, so just your standard objective secured rule for troops.
Yeah, nothing crazy like Custodes or something.
Okay.
They do have some special match role plays though. So they have the Gene Sect rule, which means you can include each Gene Stealer cult's character only once in the same detachment. So you can only take one Patriarch, one Magus, for example.
In a detachment.
In a detachment.
But you can
so you can't sure, but you can't like double up 2 icon wards.
Okay.
Right. And then you have the Broodfather rule. If your army includes any patriarchs, no other Genestealer cults or Brood Brothers characters can be your warlord. So he has to be your warlord if you take him.
So you technically can't have more than one patriarch.
No, you can have more than one patriarch. They just have to be in different detachments. But if you have a patriarch, he has to be your warlord.
Right. So, but if you have two patriarchs,
one of them has to be your warlord.
Well, okay.
Right? It says no other characters can be your warlord.
I don't know. That's a interpreting rule. So
okay.
I mean, I think you're right. I think the way it reads is that, but it's one of those. We're going to see it in red magenta on the next FAQ.
Maybe, yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that they kind of broke the precedent of having one broodlord now, or one patriarch.
With that awesome story.
Heck yeah.
Oh, Tales from Vigilance, baby. That was so good. That was so good.
Those are great.
So what else?
And so you got Cult Creed, so that gives them the cult ability. And so if all the cult infantry and biker units, they get a Cult Creed, which we'll go over in a moment. And then you have the Brood Brothers rules. And the Brood Brothers rules are really extensive and specific. I mean, they take up one whole column here.
Like almost entirely too much for us to even go into at this point.
Yeah, but we kind of explained it earlier. Basically, it lets you take an Astra Militarum detachment in your army. As Brood Brothers, they replace Regiment, or, I thought this was interesting, Militarum Tempestus with the Brood Brothers rule. So you can have Brood Brothers Scions.
Ooh.
Which I thought was really cool. I think that might be interesting.
Yeah, it would.
So that gives you another deep striking unit they can shoot.
Plasma. Because that's what you need is more good stuff.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah, you do.
Neat.
All right, so then we get to the cult creeds. I'm not going to go over these because
they've already been gone over.
Yeah, they went over them in the Warhammer community site, so if you want to check those out, just go to the GW website and they will hook you up.
Obviously, the best one is just Twisted Helix, and we'll call it that and turn the page.
Well,
no,
okay.
Turning the page.
All right, we're turning the page. Stratagems. They've got some awesome stratagems.
All right, I want your best 3 stratagems.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go with, oh man, I only get 3?
Yep, you only get 3.
Ooh, hold on a second. All right, so I'm going to go over 3 that haven't been spoiled yet. We're going to go with Lurk in the Shadows, Brood Coven, and let's see here.
Danny didn't know I was going to do this to him, so...
You son of a bitch. All right, I'm going to go with Vengeance for the Martyred. We'll go with that one.
Right.
I like that one quite a bit.
All right. And why do you think these stratagems are good and are essential to know and learn?
So, actually, no, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do one of the more important ones.
All right.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'll do...
I'm just going to edit this all out anyway.
That's fine. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we'll go with... that one's not good. Where's Perfect...
You going with the Vect
Perfect
one?
Ambush.
You going
That's
with the Vect one?
No. I'm going to do Perfect Ambush.
Oh, Perfect Ambush.
So, Lurk in the Shadows. Use the stratagem at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. Select a Genestealer Cult's infantry unit from your army that is entirely on or within any terrain feature. Until the end of the phase, enemy models can only shoot at that unit if it is the closest unit to them. So as long as you have some little guardsmen like blocking the way or closer, you can hide your Genestealers, you can hide your Aberrants, you can hide whatever, and it's basically a cloud of flies as long as your guys are in terrain, which is an amazingly powerful stratagem.
That's really good.
Yep. So I think that one's going to be played quite a lot.
Be expecting that. All right. Perfect Ambush is the one that allows you to.
Use a stratagem in the move phase immediately after you set up an infantry or biker unit from your army that has a cult ambushed ability on the battlefield. That unit can either move d6 inches, even if it has arrived as reinforcements, or it can shoot with all of its ranged weapons as if it were your shooting phase. Using the stratagem in your own turn does not prevent that unit from shooting in your own shooting phase or making a charge move in the charge phase of this turn. So, kind of a replacement for the old table that let them move closer and be able to get almost an assured assault.
Right. It's 3 CP though. That's right.
Yep, you're right.
I mean, I'm reading it upside down, so
totally worth it.
Yeah.
I think.
I actually kind of agree with you.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's super powerful, especially with the Ketamorph, Kellermorph. Is it Ketamorph? Yeah, Kellermorph. And then
Gunslinger.
Sure, or Aberrants to make sure they get in there. That's huge.
Oh yeah,
that's a gimme. The final one that I have is one that I haven't seen talked about very much, but I think it's going to get taken every single game.
Okay.
The Brood Coven. Use this stratagem before the battle if your warlord is a patriarch. Select up to 1 Magus and up to 1 Primus from your army. Generate a warlord trait for each of these models.
Wow. I'm sorry. So you just whipped out 3 warlords?
Yep, for 1 CP.
Whoa.
And their warlord traits are hella good.
Wow, that's really good.
And so, like, yeah, you get 3 warlords. They all have to take different traits, so they can't take the same trait.
Right.
And you can only use it once per battle. So you couldn't like keep giving like more Maguses and Primuses warlord traits, which is good.
Just stacking them over and over again.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Otherwise, like, man, there are so many good stratagems. Like, definitely read these because you're gonna want to know what these do.
I mean, the interrupt your stratagem, which is
that's the what is that? Four-Armed Emperor, Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor.
Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor is going to get changed. It's going to get frequently asked.
I feel like it should be 4 CP. Otherwise,
Yeah.
Dark Eldar players are gonna riot.
Yeah. So, you know.
But yep. Otherwise, really good ones. Yeah, definitely check those out. So then they have the Broodmind Discipline. So the powers are the same, other than you got 3 new ones. So you got Psionic Blast, let's see, Mental Onslaught, and Psychic Stimulus. Psionic Blast, roll 2d6 and compare it to the highest leadership characteristic of the unit. If it's less than leadership, then they take 1 mortal wound. If it's higher, then they take D3 mortal wounds.
Okay.
It's only a 5, which is nice. And it's a targeted smite, which is also really good. Because
that's the leadership one that
no.
continues? No. Okay.
Psychic Stimulus is the Mental Assault is the leadership one.
Okay.
Warp Charge 6, if it's manifested, select an enemy model within 18 inches invisible to the Psyker. Each player rolls a d6 and adds their model's leadership characteristic to the result. If your score is higher, the enemy model suffers 1 mortal wound. If the selected model is still alive, then you repeat the process until either the selected model is destroyed or you fail to inflict 1 mortal wound by having a score higher than your opponent's.
Well, if you enjoyed that, I've been Dave with Mob Rules, and with me earlier was Danny. Now, we greatly appreciate everybody who comes out and watches the videos and listens to the podcast. Danny and I will be down in LVO hanging out. We got some stickers to give out. If you saw the stickers at the beginning and you're something that you're interested in, we got some of those. If you want to support the podcast, you can buy a sweatshirt at our store. I'll put the link down below. Anything you want there. If you want to support us on our Patreon, we don't have any tiers. It's just, if you want to, go for it. If you don't, go for it. I think right now we're up to 4 locos, so we're pretty happy with that. Anyway, I've been Dave with Mob Rules, with the pleasure to be with Danny to record and review the Gene Stealer Cult book. It is going to be insane. It is so good. I'm ready to throw away my custodes and start over again. Anyway, have a great day.